Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special edition of East Meets West, ladies and gentlemen. I am Opinionated MJ. Your boy Conrado Pascual is over there. And we have our special guest, Andrew Dukowitz. Ladies and gentlemen, this is like the Minnesota gem right here. He covers the Minnesota Lynx, ladies and gentlemen. He covers the Gophers. He covers the Timberwolves. He probably cover your neighborhood. You know what I mean? So welcome him to the show, Minnesota Zone. How you doing today, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, man, if I hear a basketball dribbling somewhere, I just start running in that direction. So doing good. We were just talking about it. It's nice, hot, and humid in Minnesota. So this is apparently why people live here, I guess. Not me.
Hey man, right? Land of 1,000 lakes, right?
So 10,000 lakes. You shorten us.
Excuse me. Yeah. You know, yeah, so I get tired counting after 1,000, right? You know
that's fair.
But
that's enough.
Anywho, yeah, well, we're very excited to have you. You know, I think a lot of people obviously follow your work. You do a lot of great coverage of the Minnesota Lynx. You know, in fact, that's how you and I, you know, cross paths. You know, I think you definitely provide fans a unique perspective, you know, that not all or the standard like beat writer or reporter would provide. You know, I've actually really enjoyed, you know, a lot of your coverage of the team of, you know, kind of things that they do, like maybe off the court, you know, and like those interpersonal relationships, you know. So I guess let's jump right into it. Actually, a little bit about yourselves. How did you get into not just covering the Minnesota Lynx, but virtually seemingly every Minnesota-related basketball team?
Without getting too into the weeds, about 5 years ago, I just kind of decided I wanted to do it. I still work my day job. I'm a RN. I do wound care in people's houses. So still do that. That kind of helps, you know, subsidize the whole beat writing gig, because believe it or not, beat writers do not get paid like ESPN writers do. But yeah, just kind of decided I wanted to cover hoops. Thankfully, the Minnesota writer scene is really open and accepting. After a couple of years of just purely writing, I ended up getting credentialed with the Lynx. Kind of did my thing with the Lynx, which, you know, not being a journalist by trade, that I'm glad you picked up on that. I really try and focus more on like the holistic side of basketball, right? Like all these people have lives. They all do charity stuff. They all have like interests, likes, dislikes, stuff like that. So Lynx liked what I did enough to bring me back for a second season and passed my I guess my name along to the Wolves, and they decided to credential me last year. And now Gophers basketball wants me to do kind of the same thing with some of their programs, specifically women's basketball. I want to help out with, because I mean, NCAA men get enough coverage if you're asking me. But anyways, yeah, I really pride myself more on showing the fun side of it, right? Like I'm the guy that's going to ask Cheryl Reeve if she's going to dye her hair pink. I'm the one that checks in to see how Land's master's course in psychology is going. The one that asks who has the worst taste in music. Like, to me, that's what sports are always about. It's a distraction and it should be fun. And, you know, well, I can write a piece on the analytics of a team and get into the weeds of like pick and roll coverages. You know, if you're on Twitter, there's enough terrible stuff on there already. Why not put some more fun quotes out there than just what your average beat reporter does? And thankfully, there's enough people in the world that thought that was a good asset.
Right.
Terrific. Well, on that note, we'll kind of dive right in. But you just kind of mentioned it, right? In one of your recent articles, you wrote about, you know, Cheryl Reeve's response. What would it take for her to get her to dye her hair pink, right? And she said multiple times now, right? Championship. And
okay.
Part of the reason why I bring that up is, again, when you and I first interacted, like, you know, this is during the off season, you know, we were just kind of sharing our opinions about Cheryl Reeve. You know, I believe this is her 15th year as head coach of the Minnesota Lynx. Obviously, she was prior to that an assistant coach with Michael's Detroit Shocks, and everything like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you have this team with so many different kinds of personalities, right? Like stud buds, right? It's very charismatic, and not that like Natisha Collier and Alanna Smith aren't fun, right? But just maybe like a little bit more, I wouldn't say stoic, right? But reserved, and very humble, contrasting personalities. And yet, like, the perception from a lot of fans, like non-Lynx fans, right, is that Cheryl Reeve is almost like this drill sergeant, and yet when we first talked about it, right, it's like they all respond to her. Like they truly, truly respond to her. And, as we enter this era with all these expansion teams coming, and sometimes I feel these days the term like culture is used a little too loosely, because what does that mean, right? What, just everyone's kumbaya, right? I guess what I'm trying to get at here in all this, kind of setting up the stage here, is like, in the years now that you've covered the team, and like even before you were officially a beat writer, like what do you believe like it is about Cheryl Reeve, how she could really connect to all these different types of players, all these different personalities, and yet it seems like from top to bottom, from ownership to front office to coaching staff to the 12th player on the roster, that everybody is in lockstep. What is it?
Part of it is, I'll give Cheryl the front office side of her credit first. Cheryl is really in touch with bringing in the right people. From Rebecca Brunson, Lindsay Whalen herself, even Eric Thibault, who's on the staff now, they have all talked about, wanting to target players that don't have the disease of me or the disease of more. They really pride themselves on being able to figure out, just through like talking or watching film, if a player is going to buy into her system, because her system asks a lot of sacrifices. You look at someone like Kayla McBride, right? She comes over here from the Aces and is on this team now 2 years in a row as an all-star. And she could easily score 25 points a game. I mean, she has the step back three, the rim finishing, but she doesn't. She knows that on this team, that's not her role. Her role is to be one of the better guard defenders and to just hit when she gets open shots. Fee is obviously kind of the head of that snake, where she is the utmost bought into, Cheryl's system and just how important it is that she plays within herself. And I mean, we see that in different ways, where Fee is starting to embrace shooting the three ball, where she came into the league and was pretty much just a back to the basket post scorer. And through Cheryl saying, no, we need more, Fee is now kind of rounded out to this just all NBA type player. You look at Courtney, she's kind of done the same thing, where her usage is lower than it was in Connecticut or Chicago. And it's this weird ability Cheryl has to just find these players that she knows will buy in. Cheryl, the person, I think is equally kind of responsible. I feel like she gets a bad rap around the league, because in the early years of the WNBA, a lot of the stuff that went viral of her was her like snapping a clipboard or throwing a chair or like crashing out on her players. Yeah. Really, she's a very like in tune person. Like, for somebody that, you wouldn't expect to just get along with a Courtney Williams seamlessly. She's out there a week ago telling Courtney that she needs to be a Birkin bag, not a Target bag, when she plays New York. And like, to picture Cheryl Reeve saying that, and then in the next question talk about like why Lan is such a tough person and Australians always get up. Like, she just has this way to like meet players where they're at and present herself in this authentic way that makes these players feel really comfortable. The last part of it, I'd say, that's more culture, is you know, Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles were still in the league when Fee was a rookie. They took Fee out. They made sure that they bought all her books, bought her meals, treated her the way that, you know, they felt rookies should be treated. And Fee has taken that, and that culture is still there, where like Ola Kosu doesn't have to pay for meals. They're watching out for her like she's their little sister and not just some rookie that's might be getting minutes in the future. It's to the point where like Simone Augustus came back this year to have her Hall of Fame patch added onto her retirement jersey. And I got the chance to talk to her, and she's like, Fee runs the same chants that we ran when I was here. 10 years later, Fee's still doing the same chants. They still have the same end of huddle claps. They still do the dance at the end of practices. It is the exact same. And that's just a credit to this institutional like culture that Fee got from Sil and Simone and Waylon, and is now passing on to this current Lynx. I mean, they're not a dynasty yet because they haven't won, but this current Lynx kind of dominance.
I like that. I like that word. It's so I want to chime in and ask, like, with that being said, and you actually going back to the legacy players, randomly because I love her, but is there anything that Maya Moore has left on this kind of like franchise? You know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure she was a part of it because she was in the thick of it with them. You know what I mean? But is there anything that maybe she may have left on them? I know she retired kind of early, you know what I mean, and whatnot. And it may not be that much of her left outside of her just being a winner. But is there something that she's left on this organization as well?
So Maya is kind of interesting because when you're looking at that original Lynx dynasty, Maya was always the little kid in that, right? Like Waylon, Fowles, Augustus were all in their mid-30s, and Maya was in her mid-20s. So she didn't necessarily have the same like leadership stake in that Lynx team. Okay. And I think when she decided to pursue like her actual passion, I think she is someone that is very involved in social justice that happened to be a really good basketball player. Like I think she's truly going after and doing the work that's more meaningful for her now. But when she decided to do that, it took a lot of the players by surprise, and she doesn't really get up to Minnesota that much. She, I think, lives in the South still. That being said, she had her jersey retirement last year. And it was pretty special, you know, hearing Nafisa Collier talk about how Maya Moore was her idol when she was growing up. And, you know, they're from the same hometown, and they are in contact. I mean, they were both Huskies. There's this crazy like lineage that way too, where even though Maya isn't like at Mayo Clinic Square at the Target Center all the time, she still has these relationships with Fee, K-Mac, and the coaching staff. And then the rest of the Lynx are, I mean, Sylvia Fowles is there probably 3 or 4 games a year. Waylon and Brunson are both on the coaching staff. Simone's, I want to say Simone might live up here because she's at practice all the time. But the rest of that Lynx dynasty is just kind of always around, helping that next generation grow.
I like that.
That's what I'm saying, right? See, that to me, that is indicative of real culture.
Yes.
Right. And again, that's why I don't like how it's just kind of casually used these days by fans or even like front offices. Like, I mean, the culture has to be earned, you know, and really worked at over time. But going back to what you're saying, I mean, in keeping with this culture, this reign of dominance, even though, right, they're looking to win. Again, I mean, Michael and I, like, we love this team. We love this team because we love the way, obviously, like the style of play, the way they're built, how it seems like just everyone that they bring in, as you said, is very complimentary. And, you know, despite coming off of a loss this last game, they stand at 28-6. They've already qualified, or they've already clinched their playoff spot. You know, and they have that look to them, like they're out for blood. Like, you know, like we've seen this, like, what was it? 2014 Spurs, when they lost
yeah.
right to Miami on the whole Ray Allen thing, and then they came back the following year in 2014, and they just ran roughshod over the league. Right now, I'm not gonna saying like we don't have to make too many like cross sports comparisons. What I'm saying is
we'll be ready.
It seems like Minnesota, right? It seems like your team has that mindset. Like, no, this has all been like one long race to get back, to the WNBA finals. So having said that, like, barring any injury setbacks, let's say like Fee's back, fairly healthy. What is this team's weakness, in your opinion? Like, what at this point, what would really be stopping them?
It's and I'm gonna sound like a homer here, so I'm first gonna say I'm not.
We are unabashed homers.
Yeah,
I promise I'm
Please
not
do it.
like a homer Lynx fan. I am the first one to ask Cheryl Reeve if they have too many turnovers, and then I will get promptly corrected that they lead the league in assisted turnover ratio, so turnovers aren't really a problem. And I will go, yes, you are correct, Cheryl. I apologize. This team is the best offensive team in the WNBA, and it's quite frankly not close. I mean, they have a 2.5 point lead over the offensive rating over the number 2 team. They are the number 1 defensive rated team in the league, and it's not even close. They have a 2 or a 3 point lead over Atlanta right now. Their net rating is near double Atlanta. They lead the league in assist to turnover. They lead the league in assist percentage. I think they're second in true shooting. I mean, this team by almost every advanced metric is just dominant. Right. If you are going to nitpick, I think when I checked yesterday, they were 5th in rebounding, which is still above average, but that would be probably the weakness of this team, is if you can out rebound them, particularly like Atlanta with Brittany Griner, if she is just attacking the boards and getting putbacks. New York with Jones, Stewie, and Miesemann, if they can just really get after the boards. But that being said, it's also not really a fully guarantee that you're going to be able to win that way, because the way the Lynx are built are very much like that's, mid-teens Warriors dynasty, where they have shooters at every position. Their bench unit has shooters at every position. Jessica Shepard can come in and kind of change the pace and be more of that inside out center if they need her to. But if you're going to go big and try and out rebound this team, the Lynx have shown that they're perfectly fine playing small and just shooting the lights out and eating you up, like picking you apart in the mid-range. So even their weakness almost kind of baits teams into going too big so that they can pick them apart on defense. It's really, and I've tried to, when they were playing New York in these 3 games back to back, I tried to talk to as many of the New York media people as I could, and they had pretty similar thoughts of like, I mean, if New York gets Stewie back and they're going Stewie, Jones, Miesemann, Fibich, and Sabrina, that means like Stewie's guarding K-Mac. That's not a good recipe. And if you go the other way and you put Miesemann on the bench and you go with Tosh Cloud, then you have like Tosh Cloud or Sabrina guarding K-Mac, which also isn't ideal. This Lynx team has just figured out a way to kind of break the system with their offense. And then their defense is just, I mean, DiJonai Carrington is coming off the bench and she's all WNBA first team defensive guard. Right. It's kind of just an embarrassment of riches for them at this point.
I would like to add, like, because I've been calling this team for like the last 2 or 3 seasons the by committee team, because they've been like getting better, or I would say definitely after Fee came back from giving birth, I call them the by committee team, because it was, oh, they're missing a center, oh, they're missing this, they're missing that, but they still got it done by committee. You know what I mean? And of course, Cheryl Reeve, she has been the one like orchestrating everything and plugging in the pieces here and there and making it work. You know what I mean? And then, like you mentioned before, they come in with no egos, basically, which is beautiful to hear about a team, because that's like rare. you always have a player here and there. Like Fee could get a big head. You know what I mean? Not saying she has one or she's going to get one, but players that's like that, that's in that position, oh, you're the MVP and whatnot, they get a big head like, oh, give me mine. You know what I mean? But instead, she's playing for the team. So now you have to deal with a whole team, top to bottom, that is, they share this mindset. And they've also been, I feel like they are a continuity team because they've been what they've been over the years, and they've just added pieces to it. Lana Smith, Courtney Williams, and now what was there, or DiJonai Carrington now. So it's just like you go along and you continue to add the things that you were missing, and it's like now you're like the juggernaut. You know what I mean? You're like a juggernaut with no ego. So looking at this team. And let's keep Fee out of it for this question in particular. And we've seen it for a few games here now. But if you had to point out the player that gets them going the most, maybe I should take Courtney out of this. Let's take Courtney out of that.
Yeah.
No Fee, no Courtney, because Courtney will probably be the answer. Who does this team get led by? You know what I mean? Is it, K-Mac, or is it maybe now DiJonai? Like who's the main cog that you are looking to be like, okay, the team is on you right now, even though you guys are going to play, fluidly. You're not going to play with an ego, but we're going to make you the primary.
I think if we're taking Fee and Court out, because they're 1 and 2 on this team, I'd say Alanna Smith, which it might be surprising, but she is involved in so much of their pick and roll game early on in games where Courtney will oftentimes run the first 2 or 3 plays, just land court pick and roll. And on defense, she's everything. Their entire defensive shell scheme is to force people to go baseline. And then Alanna Smith's going to be there to clean everything up. And, there's rarely games where she is not just locked in, but there have been a couple where she just doesn't look the same, whether it's injury, whether it's, she currently is going for a graduate degree. So late night studying, whatever.
Congratulations.
Graduate degree in psychology for our undersized center. That's impressive.
Getting people heads.
I know, right? But it's one of those things where I think the team really looks at her of, if she gets a good block, if she hits one of those pick and pop threes or gets just a straight line dive to the basket, it energizes the team quite a bit. I do want to just make another point kind of on your, it's the team as a whole type of egoless team of, if Courtney's having a bad game, Cheryl just benches her and Natisha Heideman comes in. And usually if Courtney's having a bad game, T is having a good game. So then you just, there's no real drop off. It's the same with K-Mac and Bridget Carlton. Now, if one of them is struggling, you just throw DiJonai in and there's not really a drop off.
Right.
And Alanna Smith has kind of gotten that a little bit with Jessica Shepard too, where if Lan is struggling or in foul trouble, you just throw Jess in and she's going to get rebounds and play make. Right. So it's interesting the buy-in with this team. It's interesting with the buy-in with this team because if you look at a game where Courtney only plays 19 minutes, she is on the bench losing her mind for Natisha Heideman and throwing towels. Her dad's screaming in the stands trying to start the wave. Everyone supports each other on this team, and it's from the top down. It really is Fee, Court at the head of it, and then when you're down further on that bench and BC's having a bad game and DiJonai comes in, she's cheering just as hard for DiJonai. So it's really a cool thing to watch develop with the Lynx because you don't see that a lot in professional sports in general, where the starter is cheering just as hard for the backup as the backup is cheering for the starter.
I love that.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Because I've been kind of I wouldn't say I'm the president. Maybe I'm the vice president of the Jessica Shepard family, right? And Again, yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes I'll throw out some like positive PR and propaganda for players who I think really deserve that kind of recognition, because I've said it throughout going back to, and again, I think it's a testament to Cheryl Reeve, the executive, because I mean, like, this is actually supposed to be an Alanna Smith segment, but we'll get back to it, like, no, it's just the idea that a impactful rotation player like Dorka Juhas, right?
Mhm.
Who says I'm going to elect not to play in the WNBA. If this was any other team, that's a massive blow.
Mhm.
And then like, look, oh no, it's cool. We got Jess coming back, right?
Right.
Like, and as you said, it's funny how you, like, again, that just goes to show that you're not a homer, highlighting that, yeah, sometimes as impactful as Alanna Smith is, there can be like some lulls, either from game to game or maybe like quarter to quarter.
Mhm.
But I mean, her stats are very telling. I'm sure you've already come across them, but just for our audience, I mean, in terms of like her defensive field goal percentage, when she is the primary defender, it's 6 full percentage points better, than any other center. I mean, her rim defensive field goal percentage is 10% better, 2 blocks per game, 99th percentile, 7 rim contests per 100. 82nd percentile, holds opponents to 0.7 points in isolation, and anytime she's on the court, right? Defensive rating, 7 percentage points better than the next best defensive rating. All that's to say is, despite all that, especially now that Fee has missed some time, do you believe Alanna Smith is this year's Defensive Player of the Year?
Ooh.
If I had a vote, I would vote for Alanna Smith. I think she is so integral to this team because she allows Fee to be kind of that free safety, where Fee doesn't need to protect everything at the rim. Alanna Smith is going to be there. I will say, I don't know if she'll end up winning it. I think there is a case for A'ja Wilson, who is also, kind of dragging that Vegas team to a playoff, a pretty good playoff
Miracle
now, considering they were barely above 500 for a bit. I think she'll have a good say in, maybe getting that PR battle that you were talking about to get more people onto A'ja Wilson. But Lan is just everything for this defense. She, like I say, they run the shell concept where they try and force opposing players baseline, and then Lan cleans it up underneath the rim. And by running that type of scheme, they are quite literally inviting every team to attack Lan on every possession. They're not going to give up a 3. They're not going to give up like a free throw line drive. They're going to force you to take it baseline against Lan, and Lan almost always holds up. She doesn't foul a ton. When she does foul, it's, usually pretty warranted. She just gets beat up underneath the basket every game. And, when it all comes down to it, I think without Fee, we've kind of seen that this defense is still elite, even with Fee not being in there. And I mean, my money is on it's elite because Alanna Smith is there. The other thing I would just say is Cheryl tells this story quite a bit of the reason they went out and signed Alanna Smith a year and a half, 2 years ago now, was because Fee, after a Chicago game, said, "Man, I just hate playing her. She's just one of the worst people to play." So Cheryl just went out and signed her that next summer. So if the future MVP is saying, "I hate playing against this player," I also think that should carry some weight too.
Yeah. I've seen that tactic before, right? We've seen that in other sports. It's like, man, this guy gives us the worst, like the big trouble. Let's sign.
Right. She's like, "Oh, that's your worst enemy." Oh, okay. Come on.
Again, two other bench players that you also highlighted when you were kind of discussing the kind of like starter backup dynamics that Michael brought up. Jessica Shepard and Natisha Heideman, who happen to be 2 of the front runners for 6th player of the year. So my question is twofold. Are either of them, in your opinion, going to win 6th player of the year? And if so, who's winning it?
I don't think so. I think they deserve to be in the conversation at least. I think their production is a little bit more related to just the Lynx overall system. T, if I had to say, like, you know, why they're so valuable, T is just the complete opposite of Courtney. I mean, Courtney is a mid-range kind of mid-range just sniper. She's improved her 3-point shot. She has no hesitation in her ability to just rise up if somebody goes underneath the screen, whereas T just attacks the rim constantly. Every pick and roll, T is going full speed to the rim. If there is a defensive rebound, T is already halfway down the court. She is just always pushing pace. And for this Lynx team, they just really need that, because when Courtney and K-Mac and Fee are in the game, they can, it's nitpicking the best offense in the league, but they can get a little slow bringing the ball up and letting defenses get set. Right. Jessica, on the other hand, is also kind of the complete opposite of Lan, where Lan is a pick and pop, can hit threes, pretty good diver to the rim after screens. Jessica's like a mobile offense. Like, you just throw the ball to her on a block and she has such good footwork, she can get to the rim. And if she doesn't get to the rim, she's such a gifted passer that she is going to find someone. She's also probably the best rebounder on the Lynx. So when you're getting killed on the glass, it's usually pretty shortly thereafter that Jess is getting ready to sub in and kind of change that. And where Lan is just this Hall of Fame kind of level defender, Jessica is not quite that level, where she does give up more shots at the rim, but she makes up for it by being able to get those rebounds that Lan maybe can't reach. So they kind of have this like nice little fire and ice combo with both of those players. And it really comes in handy when someone's having an off night, because there are some nights where Court can shoot you out of a game, and to have a starting caliber point guard on your bench, it just makes that a lot easier. And it's the same with Jess. When there's games where Lan's in foul trouble or not looking like herself, to have a starting caliber center to just throw in there and run the offense through it's honestly, again, I'm gonna, the trend of me talking about the Lynx is it's kind of just unfair, but like, it really is pretty unfair that they just have 8 starters on this team.
Honestly,
I mean it kind of is what it is, but it really is unfair.
In my opinion, the discourse and the reactions, especially the reactions after losses, and mind you, you only have 6, okay, and like the season's about to be over soon, right? Like, we're entering like the last couple of weeks here. Like, the reactions to me, I mean, that's indicative that you're like, the team is that great. Maybe because like any loss or any like, you know, slip up or whatever will be like probably overanalyzed, right? But one thing I've heard all season, like, and I don't know if these are Lynx fans or whatever, you know, just, and this is not even just like on social media, like even media. I don't know if this is nitpicking, and so I want to know your opinion, and if you agree or not, is that if this team does need anything more, they need a quote unquote real point guard. Do you agree with that? Or like, what are your thoughts about, like, I've seen that like on like the you know, like the pregame,
everything, right?
You know, broadcast and everything, national broadcast.
I think it's more of a national storyline than like a Lynx related storyline. I think Courtney gives them what they need. Like, Courtney is kind of their emotional leader, the person that puts the battery in their back to get them hyped up. And Natisha off the bench is like that good change of pace. They also don't really run a system that relies on a point guard. Like, I mean, K-Mac runs offensive sets. Fee, a lot goes through her. Jess, when she's in there, runs offense. Bridget gets some like dribble handoff, pick and roll stuff. Like, they really run this offense that isn't focused on just, this is our point guard, this is our shooting guard, these are the fit roles that they have. They really are more just a 5-out, whoever has the mismatch is going to attack type of team. The storyline I've heard a lot this year is that the Lynx need more size, because
yeah.
just objectively they're not
They
a very
say that
big
every
team.
year, though.
They say that every year.
Yeah,
Right.
they say that
And-
every year, and then they got Alanna Smith. Like,
my pushback is if they were to go out and sign somebody, right? Like, let's say they go out and sign some 6'6" center to be on
Team
this
McGowan.
team.
BG.
They go and sign them. Fee
Yeah.
is going to play 35 to 38 minutes a game. Alanna Smith is going to play 32 minutes a game. Jessica Shepard's going to play 18. There are no minutes left.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no minutes. So
Right.
if you are signing a center, it has to be better than Jessica Shepard. And I just don't think there's anyone out there, especially this year, that they could have gotten that would be better than Shep. And I mean, you even look at like Masha Kluindakova,
who's been nice.
She's not getting any minutes, and she's like a capable center in this league.
Yeah.
So it's I think if there's one thing I've heard all season from Lynx fans and some of the media members it was just the Lynx are too small. That's going to be a problem. But at the same time, they use that to their strength to just spread teams out and be offensively really powerful.
That's actually a good segue to a question I had just sitting in my back pocket that I did want to ask you, because last season we seen, like, at least before the finals, I was paying close attention to how they were guarding Jonquel Jones. You know what I mean? Because they were like giving Jonquel the fits. And I kind of remember it because I said, oh, stop Jonquel Jones and you'll win the game. And they won some games like that against the Liberty. Considering that the Liberty, you know, hypothetically speaking, they're the biggest threat. They're the second seed, third seed, whatever. But they're the champions. I'll just give them that respect. But knowing, you know, what Jonquel could do on the floor, what they did, what success they did have against her, but then, you know, what ended up happening in the finals. Do you believe that the Lynx have enough to actually, like, really contest against the Jonquel Brianna dynamic? Because Jonquel is Jonquel, back to the basket and everything. Brianna is more of I would put her more on the defensive side of things. Like, she's real good with like the pick and roll defense and whatnot, switching off and whatnot. So do you think they are better prepared this year with the roster that they have, adding DiJonai, having Maria, and just, you know, having another year of continuity, like I was saying, you know what I mean, and just being ready?
I think what's different this year to last year is their offense has gone to a different level, where I think Jonquel is going to score. I mean, she is a cheat code in the WNBA. People that big should not be able to shoot threes like she does, should not be able to have the footwork that she does. She's like a creative player in 2K, and it's, you know, she's going to get her points. Right. I think where the Lynx are different this year is if Jonquel goes out and scores 20, the game isn't going to be to 75, right? Like, the Lynx this year have the ability to score 90 on almost every night. Yeah. And the way the Liberty are built, it plays into the Lynx offense, because if you do have Jonquel out there, theoretically you're putting her on Fee. That means Meesman's going to be spread out on Alanna Smith. If Stewie's playing, then you have Stewart on either K-Mac or Bridget Carlton. And Sabrina's going to have to guard the other one. And then Phoebich is on Courtney. Like, the defense for the Liberty just gets really muddy if they are doing that triple big. And if they aren't doing the triple big lineup, then I think we're going to see a lot more like we saw the last 3 games with the Lynx, where Fee is just able to kind of go inside and do what she needs to do. Courtney's going to be able to attack the mid-range, and it's just, again, gets kind of sticky, where what can the Liberty do to kind of slow down this offense? Whereas last year they didn't have that. Last year in the finals, it was Fee, and that was it. If K-Mac wasn't hitting shots, that was the game. I think one of the finals games was like 75-72 or something like that, like pretty low scoring games. This year, I would be surprised if any of them are that low scoring, just because the Lynx have this ability to kind of kick it up a notch on offense. That being said, we haven't seen New York healthy all season. I mean, missed 10 games now. Jonquel was out for a while.
Yeah.
Tosh Cloud's been dealing with like on and off kind of dings on her body as well. So we really don't know, which I think that honestly plays a little bit into the Lynx favor too.
It does.
If Stewie and Meesman and Jonquel haven't logged minutes together until the playoffs, that's just, I mean, how many times do we see it in basketball where a really talented team falls because they don't have that continuity? So I do think they match up really well against the Liberty. I'm personally just hoping that we get Lynx Liberty in the finals and we get a 7-game series, because as a basketball fan, that's just the dream.
Yeah. You get that revenge back.
I agree. I think we feel the same way. And, everything you just said there about all those different lineup combinations, their ability to play 5 out, maybe 4 out, 1 in, if you have someone like Jessica Shepard, down low. But for the most part, on the flip side, as I tell everybody, going back to your point, she's not like Cheryl's not just going to bring in size for the sake of size, right? All 5 players, your centers included, have to be able to somewhat comfortably defend in space. You have to be able to switch, and not get caught in no man's land. I think that's a big strength of this team, right? You guys, I believe you don't defend. I think you defend in zone the least, right? Across in the league, like, by a wide margin. Like that's a huge
Cheryl's
advantage.
not a zone person.
Yeah, she's not. And that's what I'm saying, right? That's why when everyone, like, I was like breaking down some Lynx film, and then people were like, oh, what are you talking about? This is zone. I'm like, no, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they allow their players to kind of gamble too, which is something I really like. Like Nafisa Collier on a lot of matchups, Land gets the better post player and Fee is kind of on the lesser post defender, and it allows Fee to just roam. I mean, if she feels like there's going to be a drive, she can cut it off and block it. If she thinks a pass is going to go a certain way, she can leave her matchup and just intercept the pass. And honestly, they've been letting DiJonai do that quite a bit in the 5 games she's been here too, where they're just kind of like, hey, if Sabrina's not in the game and we're playing New York, have at it, just wreak havoc. And it kind of makes their defense look like a zone though, right? Because then you just have these players that are completely out of position for no reason. But it's also because they just trust that they're going to be able to rotate and get back so fast that it doesn't matter. But then it ends up being, a way for them to just create turnovers at an alarming rate. I mean, they've forced 20 turnovers, I want to say like 6 or 7 times this year, which is just, how do you win a game if you're turning the ball over 20 times?
Yeah. I mean, Kayla too. I point this out all the time to people, like when we're watching games. I'm like, I don't know how like Kayla does it, how like she knows like when to hedge and recover like almost instinctively. Like it seems like every time she shoots the gap, she's never like losing contact or anything like that. Again, it's a huge advantage, which, as you just said, when you incorporate someone like DiJonai Carrington, I wanted to actually bring her up. You already kind of touched on the impact she's had in her 5 games with the team, but DiJonai, she doesn't just bring her own defensive talent. She also brings like a pretty big fan base. And I think, coming from Dallas, it was disappointing. There's no way around it, right? It was definitely not, I think, what she expected, what Dallas Wings fans expected, what her own fans expected. Just how, like, what do you think has been the biggest catalyst in kind of recapturing that most improved player, all defensive team, DiJonai, that we saw last year with Connecticut?
I don't have any reporting on it from DiJonai's side, because she's been very good at just saying, not going to touch that one. Nope. When we ask her, like, did you want to go to Dallas? She'll just be like, I'm happy where I am. Right. Like, she's a very polished public speaker.
Right.
Cheryl, on the other hand, doesn't do that. She is going to tell you exactly what she thinks. And we asked Cheryl, when did the interest with DiJonai start? And Cheryl said they did a full workup on her over the offseason. She was their target. DiJonai was obviously a restricted free agent, so Connecticut sold her to the highest bidder, which happened to be Dallas, but Minnesota was after her during the offseason. They did all of their homework. They had talked to all the people they need to talk to. And I think part of maybe what was going on in Dallas is DiJonai probably caught the wind of like, hey, Minnesota's really interested. And now all of a sudden you're just in Dallas where your practice is getting canceled for a college graduation, which I think a lot of that gets undersold, right? Like DiJonai in Dallas was playing in a college gym with a breakfast cart with boxed cereal. And again, they're literally her first practice in Minneapolis, the Dallas Wings practice got delayed by multiple hours because there was a graduation ceremony that was planned in the gymnasium. So they just got to wait. And then you come to Minnesota where it's a full breakfast bar with a chef, build your own omelets. They have shot clocks and backboards that tell you how far off you are on the arc of your shot. You have a gym.
What?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They have a gym that's open 24 hours a day. They have PT, OT, doctors, medical, everything on staff. They share everything with the Wolves. So the Wolves have some of the best technology. That means the Lynx have the best technology.
Mm-hmm.
So you're DiJonai and you go from being in Connecticut where, I mean, I don't think I'm breaking news by saying it's not the best not the best facilities there.
Yeah.
You go to Dallas where it's also not the best facilities, and then you come into Minnesota and it's, I mean,
state of the art.
State of the art.
Telling you your arc.
quite literally, their basketballs are chipped, so it'll tell you if your spin and arc are off, and like what your perfect shot would be on a graph behind the backboards. Like it is as state of the art as you can get. And DiJonai is walking into that, right? So I think it's a natural. You're going to be in a good mood, right? Like winning obviously solves everything. But when, after she got here, I asked her about it. I asked Lan about it, Court about it. And Lan had a quote where she just kind of said, when you're treated like a professional and you're treated like one of the best like athletes in the world, it makes you want to come to work every day. And the Wolves the Lynx and the Wolves for that matter, they both treat their players like they are world-class athletes that they are happy to employ. And I think that matters a lot more, maybe not as much as being the best record in basketball, but I think that's naturally going to lift your spirits up when you get traded.
Wow. I didn't know all of that.
Sorry to any Wings fans or Connecticut fans listening.
No, actually, I think a lot of I interact with a lot of Wing fans on a daily basis. I think they would definitely agree with everything you said, right? If anything, it just confirms the frustrations that they've had, and not even as it relates to Nye, but just in general. Yeah, kind of. I believe they are getting a new practice facility.
They are. I think it's supposed to be up next season.
But I definitely I definitely understand, that feeling from certain former players or free agents, because of course, right? You want to have, the best resources at your disposal. I guess for me, I have just one more question. And Michael, please.
Let me launch mine off first.
Okay, go first.
I'm sure yours is loaded.
No, mine's not really loaded. I think it's just a good way to wrap it up. But yeah.
Okay. Well, my whole thing is we all probably see the Lynx as the clear favorite. To be honest, is there any team that's that you believe will be in the playoffs along with them that will be a problem to them or could have some make you kind of proceed with caution, like, ooh, this team does this or that really well, and it's not like the Lynx have a clear weakness, to be honest. But is there one team that you personally are worried about, just more so about how you feel about it?
It's Golden State. Golden
State's been fun, man.
Thank you.
They've been a blast.
Yeah, they gave Alanna some flux the last time.
So I'll preface this by saying I think it'll be Lynx Liberty in the finals. So I obviously the Liberty are going to give the Lynx a lot in that matchup, but Honestly, Atlanta.
Nice.
I think Brittany Griner is so skilled and so big, and not as I struggle with how to describe Jonquel sometimes, because it's not like she's hesitant.
Right.
I think she's almost like too good of a teammate, right? Where she doesn't just say like, hey, I'm 4 inches taller than everyone and I can shoot threes. Give me the ball every possession. I don't think Brittany Griner has that issue. I think if the Lynx, at least from the games this year, if the Lynx are playing small or they aren't guarding her as physical as they should be, she just kind of takes that game over, and she's talented enough to win a couple games in a series. The other thing I really like about Atlanta is they play a really good like zone man, like hybrid kind of switching defense.
Yeah.
And then on offense, they just launch threes, which if it's a best of 5 series and Griner wins you a game and you shoot 60% from threes in another game, all of a sudden it's a 5-game series, and who knows? Right. So Atlanta makes me a little nervous. Again, obviously New York, I think is going to be an amazing series. I think that probably goes 7. Yeah. I just think, given what New York can do, I think the Lynx match up a little bit better against them. Whereas Atlanta, Griner, I don't think has any problem just taking over a game.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the threes. It's like then Jordan Canada could have a game, or
Ryan
Howard could have a game.
Actually, I really agree with that. Someone was asking me that last night too, about what is it that gives. I mean, obviously Golden State, because we cover the Valkyries on East Meets West. Like, we're nowhere near the offense that Minnesota is, right? We aspire to be, but specifically, what is it about Atlanta that just completely puts, offenses in the mud? What are they doing defensively? I think, outside, in addition to what you said, Brittany Griner and Bree Jones, they have so much positional length. And like you said, they seem to really be on a string defensively, like in their zone, because they just jam the passing lanes so much, and even if it doesn't result in a steal, they just find a way. Okay, like now you're having to like make something up. You're having to like go off script, improvise, or you're trying to do something with like 8 seconds to go on the shot clock. I mean, I agree. I think they are like, I think ultimately talent will prevail in that potential Lynx dream matchup. But yeah, I definitely see why they'll frustrate either you guys or the Liberty, whoever, however the seeding breaks down in the end. But I think a nice way to wrap this up, just because it's like a daily topic for fans, media, apparently people who don't watch the WNBA, but they feel like they need to weigh in. I don't understand. That's the weirdest trend. I've seen like some of the weirdest questions too, like that are either, I don't know, either sexist or like just plain ignorant. Like, these are basic about. But anyway, there's a lot of talent in the league right now, and it's good, right? Michael and I were talking about that. It's nice when the best players are featured on the best team. So it's nice that the Aces have had this resurgence. You want to see them on the brightest, the biggest stage, the brightest lights. The MVP race. Is Natisha Collier, in your opinion, Natisha Collier this year's MVP?
Yes.
Plain and simple.
So, okay. I will ask you to elaborate, but the fact that she's missed some games, I don't know. Do you think that kind of affects it, or?
I think it opens the door. I mean, I'll be honest. Asia has a heck of a case. I mean, that Aces team is not even close to the Aces team that was there last year or 2 years ago. Asia is dragging them to the playoffs. And she's putting up 30 and 20. Didn't she have a 30-20 game or something ridiculous recently? Like, she deserves to have some votes. I am a little less high on Alyssa Thomas. I think she is a wonderful player. I think the way that she's able to kind of manipulate an entire offense by herself, just playing out of the post, is impressive. The triple doubles are impressive. She's always good defensively, but I just think there's a little drop off from Fee and Asia down to Alyssa Thomas. Fee, I think, you know, you look at it and she got upgraded to questionable today.
Yeah.
She's probably going to play on Friday, I would guess, against the Fever, and she'll miss the Dream game tomorrow. Recording it Wednesday. But, you know, at the end of the day, that means Fee's going to miss like 8 or 9 games, maybe 9 or 10 games, whereas Thomas has missed 5, Asia's missed 4. I just don't think that like extra 6 games should matter as much. That being said, though, the WNBA has always prioritized playing in games. I think I went back like 5 or 6 years, and there's never been an MVP that's missed more than 5 games in the last 6 years. So there is like that historical precedent. But Fee, I mean, she is the reigning defensive player of the year that's leading the league in scoring on the best team in the league. Like her true shooting is in the mid 60s, and she's the defensive player of the year. I just don't know how many people are going to be able to fill out a ballot and look at that and then vote for someone else. But
so one quick follow-up, because I did say this is the final question, only because your answer I think makes sense. Frankly, you sold me. I agree, because I was kind of like, you know, like as you said, the door was open, where now I'm like, okay, Asia, AT, you know, but like to what you just said, reigning DPOY, leading scorer, clearly the best player on the best team by a lot. But that's the thing, in these games that she's missed, the Lynx have continued to win. That's what a lot of people will.
That's what they've said. That's what they've been saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you something crazy? How would you then respond to that, saying, well, wait a minute, or, you know?
So the Lynx in the games that she's missed have kind of skated by. Seattle, they won pretty narrowly over Washington. I think they had a pretty good win over New York. Both games were pretty narrow wins that they had, and then they had the loss. When Fee's playing, they're blowing teams out. I mean, Ola Kosu's playing minutes in the third quarter because the game's so out of hand.
Right.
I mean, the other thing I would just say is they've gotten some really weird performances in these games that Fee has missed, where Alanna Smith scores a career high 26. Courtney Williams goes crazy for 28.
Yeah.
Yes, they have won these games, but they've won it more because other players are rising up and having like uncharacteristically good games versus like the Lynx system is just this good that they can withstand losing anyone. Now, that being said, though, I will acknowledge it again. Like, Asia has a really good case. I think if you value how many games a person has played, it's kind of, and I hate to throw it over to the NBA, but like the Russell Westbrook triple doubles versus Nikola Jokic debate a few years ago, where it's like, do you value somebody getting the 5 seed averaging a triple double, or do you value like somebody just plowing away getting the 1 seed? Do you value Joel Embiid leading the league in scoring and being on the 3rd seed, or do you value Jokic doing everything for the best team?
All right.
I think there will be a case, and I don't think it'll be like a unanimous MVP, but I still think Fee is deserving of it. Like, this Lynx team is not a, 27-6 team or 28-6 team without Napheesa Collier.
Right. The only thing I would have to add to that is the only true threat I think that she would have is if Asia can pull that team to the 2nd seed. That's the only threat, because they would have went from like what, 9th?
They were 9th at one point.
Yeah, they will go from 9th to 2nd and have like the 9-game win. Oh, all of the talk. Like, that's,
and it has been Asia Wilson. That is it for that Aces team. Like, she is everything.
She's put on the backpack like, who's hopping in?
Huh?
No Kirsten Bell love.
She's
she's a little bit.
Dallas Wings killer.
Yeah,
I think if she missed the entire season, the Aces would still be a playoff team. If Asia Wilson missed the entire season, the Aces might be the 1st overall pick.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Oh, so Drew, let them know where they can find you, where they can tap into all of your work, and where they can follow you on social media as well, too, before we get out of here.
Oh, for sure. All of my socials are pretty simple. ADukeMN, ADUKEMN. I have my written work coming out on zonecoverage.com every Wednesday and Saturdays. Usually a Wolves piece on Wednesday, Lynx on Saturdays until the Wolves season starts off. And then I do host a post-game Lynx podcast on X and YouTube called The Missing Lynx. I host it right on my own personal X, and it's fan focused. Like I say, I'm not a journalist by trade, so we encourage comments in the chat, ask questions. I have other local and national beat reporters on with me usually, and we just try to have fun talking about a game.
Nice. Okay, well, y'all know where to follow him, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure y'all like and subscribe. Make sure you go over there and like and subscribe to his pages as well. Like, get the counts up, get the counts up. Lynx fans, we see you. You know, I'm a big Lynx fan too. But yeah, with that being said, in case you guys didn't know, because I'm glad you threw it out there too, Drew. This is Wednesday, August 20th. So make sure y'all get the date. And yeah, so tune in, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us, Drew. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Take care.